The death penalty is all about dehumanization. It's about devaluing lives and demonizing individuals in order to get other citizens, 12 jurors, to impose a sentence of death, to say, I am voting to kill a fellow citizen. And so what prosecutors do is attempt to dehumanize, attempt to demonize, if you will, defendants in order to accomplish this. A couple of years ago, I wandered into the war section, books about war at Powell's bookstore. I don't go there very often. I spend my time mostly reading about what I do, legal stuff. And I picked up this book called Killology by a guy named Lieutenant Grossman. And part of what he studied was how we have trained people to kill. It turns out that in the First and Second World Wars, very few soldiers were willing to fire their guns. But over a period of time, we've taught people how to kill the enemy. And what we learned was the more that we dehumanize somebody, the easier it is to kill that person. And when I was reading this, although this was about the art of war, if you will, it was very much, to me, a book about the death penalty process. But what comes with dehumanization? How do we accomplish dehumanization? Unfortunately, we accomplish dehumanization in very base and very wrong ways. And let me start by talking about the role of race. As Lauren talked about, there was a study done a number of years ago for a United States Supreme Court case called McCleskey, one of the worst decisions to be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in the last century. And what Professor Baldus, who conducted this study, learned was two things. That if you are African American and on trial, you are more likely to get a death sentence than if you were white. And secondly, he found that if your victim was white, you are even more likely to get the death penalty because jurors value the lives of white victims more than they value the lives of Latino victims or African victims. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, well, that's good to know, but if we fix that problem with regard to the death penalty, if we struck down the death penalty because it was being imposed in a racially biased way, then we couldn't have a criminal justice system.